Hello and welcome to Baking on a Budget. Now this time we're going to be making this simple chili con carne recipe with homemade tortilla chips. The tortilla chips are absolutely fantastic, nice and crisp, and they go with the chili con carne perfectly. Now I have all of the materials which we'll need already set out over here, and I'll go through them one by one, tell you exactly what the quantities are and how much all of this cost. Now to begin with, we are going to use 250 grams of minced beef. And this is £1.67. Again, I buy the larger quantity of beef. That does make it a little bit cheaper. I normally buy it at a kilogram at a time. Now to go with that, I have half a tin of red kidney beans. You could put the whole tin in. I'm just going to put half in. That will be sufficient. So the half tin of red kidney beans is about 25 pence. I have one beef stock cube at 12 pence. We have a small onion at 9 pence. We have a carrot at 5 pence. We have one clove of garlic at 4 pence, a tin of chopped tomatoes at 47 pence. We have 2 teaspoons of paprika at about 6 pence, 1 teaspoon of cumin at 4 pence, 1 teaspoon of mild chili powder at 4 pence, and a good crack of black pepper also at about 4 pence. So the whole of this comes to £2.87, and we're going to get 4 servings out of that, making each serving about 72 pence per serving. To go with that, I'm going to use just a handful of basmati rice, about 60 grams, and that is about 10 pence. Now, for the homemade tortilla chips, we have 75 grams of plain flour at 4 pence. We have 40 grams of cornmeal at 8 pence. Now, the cornmeal, there is a very specific flour you can get to make these tortillas, but I couldn't find it anywhere in the UK. I would have to send away for it. The nearest one I could get was the cornmeal, and I got this from an Asian supermarket. So I have 40 grams of that cornmeal at 8 pence. We have a little pinch of salt in there. We also have 25 ml of vegetable oil at 4 pence, and we have about 60 ml of cold water. So the total cost of the tortilla recipe is 16 pence, and it'll make about 30 odd of these. So a good handful of them will cost about 4 pence. Now, if we put all of that together, the total cost of the chili con carne and the rice and the homemade tortilla chips, we get a beautiful tasty meal out of that for 86 pence. So let's get to it. We're going to do the chili first, and whilst that's bubbling away in the pan, we'll get on with the tortilla chips. First things first, we're going to chop this onion up. Now the veg, there are options here with the veg. I know it's probably more traditional to put some red pepper in this as well, but when I looked in the fridge, I don't actually have a red pepper, so we'll make do without one, but you could easily add one if you wish. Right, so I'm just going to roughly chop this onion and get that prepared for the pan. Okay, that's the onion. Next thing we want to do is prepare this carrot. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to grate the carrot to put in here. Could slice it, prepare it any way you wish. But I'm going to grate it, and that will give the chili a nice texture with that grated carrot in there. This is a really filling meal, by the way. Chili con carne is a classic, you know, a staple. Right, that's all them. Next thing is the garlic. Chop that up nice and fine. Again, a little bit disappointing the size of these cloves of garlic, but I'm sure that will be fine. And over at the stove, I'm going to pop the gas on, just sort of medium heat, but one for that. I've got a little drizzle of oil in the pan. Again, not a lot. There's a lot of fat going to come out of the minced beef when we put that in, and this will be sufficient to soften the veg. So with that in, first thing we want is the onion, and we'll allow that to soften up. The onion's had a couple of minutes, nice and soft. So to the pan, I'm going to add the grated carrot and the garlic at this point. As I say, if you have a red pepper, you could chop that up and stick it in there as well. That's smelling really nice already. And this carrot will soften up very quickly with it being grated. So we'll just want another minute or so in there, and that will be fine. Going to turn the heat down, and our next ingredient is the minced beef. Here it is. This is 250 grams of minced beef. Obviously, if you're going to prepare this for more people, you could easily double up on this recipe, and that would be just fine. But as I say, this one pan, I'll get about 4 servings out of this. And along with rice and the tortilla chips, that'll be a very nice meal. Right, again, we want to let the mince brown off a little and then on to the next stage. Waiting for the mince to brown, I've got a tin of chopped tomatoes here, which I'll put in this bowl, and I'll just chop these up a little bit finer. Again, this is a thing of personal taste, doesn't have to be chopped up anymore, but I like it a little bit more pureed, so I'll just do that with a hand blender. Okay, now the mince is looking good at this point. It's all broken up and browned, so what I'm going to do is add to that the chopped tomatoes. In they go. Very good. Looking good, starting to smell good too. Now, to that, we're going to add some of this beef stock. Oops, it's just spilled it all over the hob. Not to worry. Normally keep the beef stock aside, and if it needs a little more after it's been cooking a while, I'll have more to add into it. But that there is looking good. Now, in goes, this is half a tin of kidney beans. And as I say, if you're making a larger quantity of this, I will just put the whole tin in. That is starting to look scrumptious. Now, I'll put a little bit more of that stock in because that will reduce as it boils. Now, with all of that done, we can start spicing this. And I have some paprika. Again, you can use smoked paprika if you like that. I just prefer the plain. So we've got 2 teaspoons of paprika. We have some cumin here. And we have 1 teaspoon of cumin. And again, the chili in this is a matter of taste. If you like a very strong chili, you could use fresh chilies in this, and that would spice it up a little bit. You could use a stronger chili powder, but for me, 1 teaspoon of mild chili powder will be just fine. But as I say, the spicing of a dish like this is very up to your own palate and your own taste. It smells beautiful as soon as the spices get in there. Fantastic. Right, last but not least, I'm going to give that a good crack of black pepper. There. Give that a stir around, reduce the heat. Now I'll put the lid on this and I'll let this bubble away for what, 20 minutes, half hour, something. Right, and whilst that's bubbling away there, we are going to start preparing the tortilla chips which go with this. That chili went together in no time at all, and I tell you, it smells absolutely beautiful. So what we're going to do is make our own homemade tortilla chips. And to do that, we have the 75 grams of plain flour, and we have 40 grams of cornmeal into the bowl. With that, we want to add just a pinch of salt. That will do it. And we want to bring that together. Now, to that, I am adding 25 ml of vegetable oil. Very good. And 60 ml of just plain cold water. And we're going to mix that all together, and it will come to a dough. Now again, obviously, what I'm saying is this will break up into 4 circles. You'll get 8 of these out of each circle, so that's about 32 of them. If you wanted more, obviously just double the recipe up and you will have plenty. These will keep well as well in a sealed bag once they've cooled down and crisped up. Put them in a sealed bag and they will keep for a good few days. Right, let's get all that together. Now I'll just knead that a little bit in the bowl. It's not going to take too much, just to bring it together. And then what I'm going to do is cover the bowl, and I'll leave this for about 15 minutes just so the moisture hydrates all of the dry material as well as it can. That'll make it much easier to roll out. Okay, so our dough has had about 15 minutes to rest. What I'm going to do is cut that into 4 equal portions, like so. And I'm just going to roll each one of those into a ball. The traditional way to do this is with a thing called a tortilla press. But obviously, in this kitchen we don't even have a food processor, so highly unlikely to have a tortilla press. But what we do have is improvisation. And to sort of press these into a flat round, I have here a freezer bag which I've just opened up. I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to cover it over like that. And then I have the other chopping board which I'm going to put on top. and apply some pressure. So far so good. Now that still looks a little thick to me, so what I'm going to do is just finish that off with a rolling pin, because we do want these nice and thin. The thinner these are, the crisper they'll be. Right, I'm saying that's good. That's just like a wafer, that's wafer thin. Okay, turn that out onto the board, and we want to cut that down the middle, down there, and as I say, there we go, we'll get 8 of these beautiful tortilla chips. Now I'm going to deep fry these. 2 ways to do it. You can do them in the oven, or you can deep fry them. I've currently got the deep fryer, or the chip pan, heating up in the background, and when that comes up to temperature, we'll pop these in and we'll fry them. And whilst we're waiting for that to come up to temperature, I'll just do that once more. Same with the rest of these. Press it nice and flat as you can get it. Then it will probably just want a couple of rolls with the pin to get it wafer thin. I'll just separate them out as they await the oil. Right, now I'm going to do this with the others, and then I will batch fry these. Now that oil looks like it's up to temperature. I've just sacrificed one of those. I've put it in just so we want to see it floating around and bubbling, essentially. And once it's done that, it'll just be a few seconds, 30 seconds to a minute in the hot oil, and that will be ready to come out of there. So we'll just let this one finish its thing, and then I'll load this basket up and we'll do them a batch at a time, possibly 4 or 5 at a time in there. But that's toughening up nicely. These still will be a little soft when they come out of the pan, but they will stiffen up as they cool. Now also, I don't know if you can see here, but I have a baking tray with some kitchen roll on, and that will just absorb any of the excess oil from these. So we want to take them just a couple at a time, get them in the pan, and that's looking good. Right, they are just going to take a couple of minutes. They'll brown up out onto the kitchen roll, and we'll go through the rest of the batch exactly the same. Okay, that's all them fried up. As I say, we just want to leave them to cool, and they will go much crisper. A little bit of salt on them. One of the troubles when you buy these from the shop is I always find they are absolutely covered in salt. So we'll just have a little crack of black pepper over them, and a little bit of salt, and we shall leave them to cool entirely. Now whilst that's happening, we can get the rice on. Smells fantastic. Right, we're just going to leave that to simmer away whilst we do the rice. And I'll say this is a basmati rice. Use any type of rice you like, obviously. And what I normally do is like a handful per person and a little pinch full of pot, and that will be fine. Now it's gone into boiling water. I'm just going to stir that around once and then leave it alone. Okay folks, now look, this is one delicious plate of food. We have this beautiful chili here, smells absolutely divine, lovely fluffy rice in the middle, and our homemade tortilla chips on this side of the plate. Plenty of those left for later as well. Now, I'm going to take a taste of this. That look delicious? It's a classic dish. It never fails to please, you know. That is a really tasty chili. Rice done to a turn. These tortilla chips, beautiful, just lightly salted. Really nice. Look at that. That's going to go down really well. Superb. Now, as I say, that whole plate of food is 86p. Now, as I say, chili is a very versatile dish. There's a standard recipe to it, but you could make it with all beans if you wanted to, make a vegetarian option. The addition of the bell pepper is normally used. Now, compared to the shop-bought tortilla, these probably haven't got quite as much crisp, but they definitely don't have anything like as much salt, or any of the other ingredients which I put in there. As you've seen, this is very simple. This is flour, cornmeal, a little bit of oil, a little bit of water. That's it. And I think the secret is to get that dough really thin and obviously let them cool. These haven't fully cooled yet, and they will go nice and crisp. So, can I say, if you've enjoyed the video, If you've enjoyed this, please do have a go at making the chili, by the way. It's very simple, as you've seen, it's a very simple recipe to make. And these are great fun to make. So if you have enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you would like to see more inexpensive, beautiful, tasty meals like this in the future, please do consider subscribing to the channel. We also have many more desserts, puddings, loads of things yet to come. In the meantime, I'm going to finish off this plate of chili, and I thank you all very much for watching. Fantastic.